Regina, Mater misericordiae, vita dulcedo, estes nostra salve. A te clamamus, exules filii Eve, a te suspiramus, gementes.
Alleluia, 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 alleluia. The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. As Jesus got into a boat, his disciples followed him. Suddenly a violent storm came up upon the sea, so that the boat was being swamped by the waves, but he was asleep. They came and awoke him, saying, "Lord, save us, we are perishing." He said to them, "Why are you terrified, O you of little faith?" Then he got up, rebuked the waves and the seas, and there was a great calm. The men were amazed and said, "What sort of man is this, whom even the wind and the sea obey?" The Gospel of the Lord.
Do you think Jesus knew that he was taking the disciples into a storm? Did he do it on purpose? You're darn right he did. And some of the words in the gospel passage, the word for storm actually can be exchanged for the Greek word for earthquake. So this was pretty serious. And he did this with intent. You know he did, because he knows he's God. It is an opportunity for his apostles to face the reality of their ineptitude when we divorce ourselves from Christ. He pushes them into a storm to reveal that sometimes we push ourselves into storms. And I was thinking how we're experiencing exactly that today. I was reading the words of the prophet Amos. I'm not going to reread the whole passage, but just these salient verses. I was thinking, welcome to America. Welcome to the world. Indeed, God does nothing without revealing his plan to his servants, the prophets. In other words, God has been sending messages to say, there's something wrong. If you would come to me, I can help. But more and more systematically, we have exiled God from our country. I brought upon you upheaval, he says. I brought upon you such upheaval. Nothing happens without his consent. This upheaval is what we heap upon ourselves, but he allows for it. I remember the first time I had too much to drink as a teenager. My mother enjoyed watching me be sick because she figured I was going to learn a lesson the hard way. I did, for the most part. Sometimes we need to feel the heat of the storm, and so we do. And in the midst of this storm, the prophet Amos is saying, "Yet you return not to me. Praise you, Jesus. We look at the gospel and we see that the disciples went to Jesus. Yet you returned not to me. So now I will deal with you in my own way. That's not so much fatal as it is, you're leaving me no choice. I'm going to have to take an extreme measure here because you won't do it yourself. You didn't address the wound, and now the foot must be amputated. So now I will deal with you in my own way. It becomes an act of charity, an act of grace. It may be severe, but it's the right thing to do. If you have kids, you know exactly what this is about. Prepare to meet your God. Amos is saying. Well, the best place to be in the storm is in a fragile, broken down boat with a sleeping Jesus. That's all I can say. It's way better than being on the shores of America with all the riots and upheaval that's going on now. And even when Jesus appears sleeping, he remains the Lord in command. While he was sleeping, he did his greatest act of glory. The church fathers talk about how he went into the sleep of death on the cross. And in the sleep of the tomb, he rose again. Even when he appears asleep, he says, I am the Lord. I am in command. In the storm, in the crashing waves, in human futility and human ineptitude, when you discover that all your ability is futile, I am the net of safety, Jesus says. Today we celebrate the feast of the early church martyrs. This is how they acted. They cried out to Jesus in the storm. And for them, they discovered that even the sleep of death was not the end. In the eye of the storm, we must turn to Christ.
Regina Celi, letare, alleluia, qui aquam merum isti portare, alleluia, resurrexit sicut dixit,